Now, Chris, can you see the Nets winning it all?
Jen, that's all I can see practically. I see that as clearly as I can see Skip's pocket square. I mean, this is an embarrassment of riches. Look, if everybody's healthy, Kevin Durant, James Harden, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, everyone. I only see one team out there that can beat the Brooklyn Nets, and that's the Brooklyn Nets. It has to be some type of implosion. Like Kyrie, he's not in the mental space he needs to be in. He gets tired of James Harden handling the ball and making the decisions. Blake Griffin gets tired of kind of being a role player. DeAndre Jordan is upset that he's not getting the same minutes now because LaMarcus Aldridge is a starter. Like, it has to be some type of internal strife or problem for this team to lose because they just have too much. And I've been concerned about it's completely unprecedented for a team to play probably what will be about 15 games together with their big three before they get into the playoffs. We've never seen a team do that and win a championship. But I was talking to Kerry Kittles, the former Net, who played in 2 finals with Jason Kidd years ago. We talked earlier this week, and he was saying, look, today's NBA is just so simple where every team does the same thing. It's all high pick and roll or drive and kick, spot up by the three-point line, or roll to the basket as a big man for an alley-oop or something like that. Every team's doing it. It's not like 15 years ago where some teams did this, some teams did that. Everybody had different identities, and it would take you a while to develop some type of chemistry. Now, and I think he's right, because you saw last night, I mean, Kevin Durant just fit in like he hadn't been gone. When James Harden got there, he fit in like he hadn't been gone. So they can get an open shot every time down the floor because they got 3 guys that can beat you off the dribble, and thus you're going to have to double team them or they're going to go all the way to the rim and finish. And when you double team them, they're kicking it to a great shooter in Joe Harris. Now a guy that can shoot in Blake Griffin. LaMarcus Aldridge can shoot. Not to mention KD or James Harden. Like, it is just, this team looks like it could be one of the best teams we've ever seen, let alone the best team this season.
Yeah, they look great. There's no way around it. They looked unbelievable. Kevin Durant picked right up where he left off, where I thought he would, because he's a 3-level player. He can do it all. I think the thing is that you look at LaMarcus Aldridge. He's playing better now with the Nets skill than he did the last 2 to 3 years that he played with your Spurs. And Greg Popovich probably looking at him like, why can you give us that? But, hey, he was unhappy with his role in San Antonio.
See, Kawhi was unhappy, LaMarcus.
Maybe
it's a Popovich problem.
Don't do that, Skip. Don't do that. No, Pop is the guy. You got Blake, who's a good role player. Blake is...
Never thought he'd be called a role player, but go ahead.
But that's
I'm with you.
But that's what he is, Skip.
Yep.
And he's like, well, people said I wasn't any good. No, you're the same player. You just can't carry a team like you were supposed to do with the Clippers, what you were supposed to do with the Pistons. In this role, you're fitting a role. They got 3 other guys that's going to do the heavy lifting. I love Nick Claxton. You're right, Chris. DeAndre Jordan, is he going to get upset because it ain't like he's got his minutes cut. He not playing. And then they got, I just want to say his name, Alizé. Oh, Alizé Johnson. You know Alizé? Hey, Chris, you know Alizé for the crib? He's getting major minutes. So they're loaded. Now, Skip, when I look at this, Chris, Philly, after watching them, they're better than I thought because you know why? They can play defense. They got Tobias Harris that can guard, Ben Simmons that can guard, Danny Green that can guard, Joel Embiid, hey, he's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, and Milwaukee with Holiday, Giannis, Chris Middleton. So it's going to be very, very...
Can they beat these Nets?
They got to hope the Nets got to have a couple of bad games. I can see the Sixers pushing them to 7 games. I don't know if they can beat them, but I see the Sixers can push them to 7 games. I don't know if Milwaukee has enough firepower at the end of the day to beat them.
So, Chris, back to you. You've been covering this league for a long time. I have been covering and closely following this league for an even longer time than you have. In all my days, I have never seen a team this deep in talent. In all my days, you can go back all the greatest teams we ever covered. Nobody has had this depth of talent that the Nets have assembled, because no team has ever had 6 players on its roster who have made multiple All-NBA teams. This is the first one ever. And all the players that Shannon named down the line, it's an embarrassment, as you said, of riches. And I've told Shannon again and again, only the Nets can beat the Nets. Well, now only familiarity could undermine the Nets, because they just haven't played enough together. But I was just dumbfounded watching Kevin Durant, who immediately turned rust to dust last night, because he just walks in and is like, can we see that first shot? He just comes off a low pick and just runs to the elbow, and Kyrie says, here. And he just turns around and does what he always does, like he hadn't missed a beat. And he rips his mid-range elbow jump shot, which he is lethal at doing. And he goes 5 for 5, and he has 7 rebounds, and he has 5 assists, and he looked like he'd never left. And it looks like their chemistry is so natural that they're almost arrogant about it in a good way. They're just all like giggling about it. This is fun. This is so easy. It looks like the game is too easy for them, but all the pieces are fitting right before your very eyes. I just don't know if the big 3 have had enough reps together to withstand some kind of playoff adversity, because you know they're going to get faced with, they'll lose a game 1 or maybe a game 2, and all of a sudden they'll have to go somewhere else, and it's going to be 1-1 at the other arena.
And you have to take back home court by winning on the road.
You have to show us what you're made of.
Right.
You have to, under fire, show us that you guys can share the ball like you shared it last night. As Kevin said after the game, we just move bodies and move the basketball. It's easy. Well, it looked easy last night because you just obliterated the Pelicans.
Yeah.
So my question is, I just don't know about familiarity. That's the only question I have, because if that doesn't matter, if chemistry really doesn't matter, if it's just natural chemistry, they're going to just wipe out the East, and I fear they're going to wipe out the Clippers in the finals, because it's going to be the Clippers winning the West. Yeah.
Well, Skip, you're right. I mean, and that's been my concern too. But as I talk to people around the league, not everyone says this, but more people than not say it doesn't matter. That them playing 15 to 20 games together before the playoffs is enough, which sounds ridiculous, because in the however long they've had basketball, we've never seen this.
No,
we've never seen it. The Celtics, when they came together, right, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett, they played all season together, and they got pushed in those first 2 rounds. Both rounds, they went 7 games, and then 6 in the conference finals and 6 in the finals. So even for them, it was easy. I think this team has a few things going for it otherwise. One, you can see they all are bought in, at least at this point, right? Yeah. Blake and LaMarcus, they look relieved. Like, the burden of carrying a franchise is no longer on me.
Right.
I'm happy to be this role. That's what they look like.
Yep.
And everybody else, they're coming together at the right time, where they've all done great things individually. All they want to do is win a title. That's the only thing they can do to add to each of their individual legacies, is win another championship, or the first championship for some of the guys. So that is something that's really working in their favor. And then the role players, you mentioned Blake looking great, LaMarcus. It's because the other guys, they've either got 2 or 3 stars out there. It's been 2 for now. But they draw so much attention that Blake is wide open and LaMarcus is wide open. Heck, Claxton, Bruce Brown, Joe Harris, TLC, Jeff Green, they look great too. Like, that's the thing. When you have stars that draw so much attention, we know this. Everybody in the NBA can play. None of them are scrubs. They just can't create their own stuff at that level. But when you give them open shots,
right,
at the rim if they're a big man, or in the perimeter if they're a shooter, they're gonna hit them.
You're right, but that's the thing. You said Blake and LaMarcus is not required to carry a team. That's a heavy burden. Everybody says, I want that responsibility. I want to carry a team. But can you? Do you really want that when the expectations are night in and night out? We saw it. Now, a lot of this, Blake, his body failed him. Skip, the legs, his knees, they just gave out on him. He started getting, every other week he had an injury that kept him out for a week or 2 weeks. LaMarcus should have stayed in Portland with CJ and Dame. I believe he'd have been better off there than he ever was in San Antonio, Skip. But Dame had started to grow, and he wanted his own team because Dame was starting to challenge him. And he went down to San Antonio, and lo and behold, there was a homegrown kid that when Tim Duncan left, Pop gave him the responsibility. And he took the team over. Yep. So LaMarcus was like, damn, I left there to come here to be the man, and you got the man in plain sight and didn't know it.
Okay, so final X factor in this equation. They have a first-year head coach who had never coached before, two-time league MVP, but Steve Nash had never coached. And so far, so good, because he seems to be pushing all the right buttons, even though Kyrie initially said, we don't even need a coach.
They don't
and even though you pointed out, Shannon Sharpe, that Steve Nash was not pleased that Kyrie did not give him any heads up on his hiatus that he took, right? But so far, maybe they don't need a coach. I don't know. Maybe he's just going
somebody got to call timeout.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying, Chris? Somebody got to. The players don't really call timeout unless they get in a crowded situation with the ball. But other than that, his job is to call timeouts to suppress the runs. When somebody go on a 10-0 run or a 12-2 run, you see Steve hit him with a quick right. That's his job.
Okay, but somebody has to say, no, you can't go back in the game because you can't play 7 guys at once, because I'm sure a lot of guys would like to go get their minutes, right?
Well, no. The only 3 guys' minutes that you're worried about is those big 3 guys. Everybody else, you get what's left over of the minutes.
Okay, but somebody will complain at some point,
don't worry
because
about it.
They always do.
Well, you only going to get like 3 months to complain because we're going to get you up out of here. Because they got a good thing. Don't mess that up.
You're going to get them up out of here?
Yeah. Hold on. Who's going to complain? Well, the big 3 is not going to complain because it's their hide that's on the line. But Skip, if they don't win a championship, they're not going to blame Blake. They're not going to blame LaMarcus, Chris. They're going to blame the big 3.
Right.
So as long as the big 3 are happy, everybody else is going to get a chance to eat.
So are you willing to concede right now the next one?
No.
No?
Because LeBron, that ankle, they said that ankle get ready. That ankle get ready and rest. We rested.
Really?
Rested.
Rest and no rust for LeBron?
Hey, Chris, when baby GOAT, and old Shaq Drummond, it's over. It's over, Chris.
So that's your big 3. The Nets have only had their big 3, like you guys have pointed out, for 7 games. So we are far from
had one game without big 3.
Far from knowing just how good the Nets have the ability of being. Chris, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.